Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what in the world is going on with so many innocent children, so many innocent, beautiful little babies that are being treated worse than we treat garbage. And so many children are ending up literally in dumpsters. It is like the most frightening thing to have to think about. And why this is going on in America, why is it going on planet Earth at all, is beyond me. But all I know is people have to suffer, and I think we have to start making an example out of people. The beautiful baby boy that you see on my screen met his demise in a way that is just unimaginable. And what I want to tell you guys is I want to tell you a little bit about his story if you haven't heard it before. This is a slight update. That beautiful baby smile. I'm going to say some things and give you guys some details that are not going to sit well with your sensibilities. This is not a news station. So if you can't handle me giving commentary on top of me giving you difficult details of this story, I understand if you need to exit the video. But for everybody else who does want to hear this baby's story and stand up for justice, disturbing details have been released in the case against the man by the name of Wyatt Lamb, who was the fool on the right-hand side, who was accused of murdering 2-year-old Athian Rivera this past February in Cheyenne, Wyoming. In March, the Cheyenne Police Department confirmed they had arrested a 27-year-old man on unrelated charges in connection to the murder of 2-year-old Athian Rivera, whose body was found in a nearby dumpster in a trash can. A child's body in a trash can. The suspect was later identified by Cheyenne police as Wyatt Lamb, again, 27 years old. On Monday, June 28, 2021, a few days ago, Laramie County District Attorney Lee Ann Manlove announced that charges were filed against Wyatt Lamb in the death of that beautiful baby boy right there. He said, I have filed charges against Wyatt Dean Lamb for multiple counts of child abuse and 1 count of felony murder. I commend the Cheyenne Police Department and the Laramie County Coroner and the Wyoming State Crime Lab for their collective efforts in this case. Manlove stated in her announcement on Monday. Now, the graphic 9-page, and let me repeat this, the graphic 9-page affidavit of probable cause obtained from the Laramie County Circuit Court reveals how the investigation into the death of Rivera led authorities to charge Wyatt Lamb with murder in the first degree, as well as 10 counts of felony child abuse. According to an affidavit at approximately 1:02 p.m. on February 19th of this year, the Laramie County Joint Communications Center received a 911 call from the mother of Athian Rivera, who reported that the 2-year-old was missing. Soon after, officers with the Cheyenne Police Department were dispatched to the scene to investigate the baby boy's disappearance. Detectives say that they had made contact with the child's mother when they arrived on the scene, and the mom stated that their apartment was on the 2nd floor of the complex and that she didn't believe that her son was wearing shoes at the time. The mother reportedly said that she didn't know how Athian could have left on his own, as he had trouble walking downstairs. You guys have to remember, he's a small baby, 2 years old. Authorities say that Rivera's body was wrapped in a blue and white fitted sheet and a blanket that was inside of 5 black plastic trash bags. That's a human baby that we're talking about. Five plastic black trash bags to conceal it and also to hide the smell of the rotting flesh. I'm sure y'all have to know that's why they use so many, that fool used so many trash bags. It was noted by investigators that the child's body was still warm at the time it was discovered. Now, the affidavit reports that the Laramie County coroner, I think that should be coroner, Rebecca Reed took custody of Rivera's body. Yeah, that's coroner of Rivera's body a short time later. So that's coroner, even though they wrote it as coroner. The coroners report that they observed Rivera's body to still be warm, which usually means that it was in a short amount of time. Reed believed the time of death to be between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on February the 19th, according to court papers. Detectives say that they spoke to Rivera's mother on February 19th, 21st, and 22nd regarding the circumstances around Athian's death. Rivera's mother reportedly told authorities that she lived in the apartment with Athian, 2 other children, and Wyatt Lamb, the boyfriend, who she described as her boyfriend. Hashtag, when you date thugs, you date death. And I want y'all to remember that thug is not a skin color, it's an action. So we're calling that man a thug based on his actions. He murdered a kid, tried to hide it, and lie about it. She stated that Wyatt Lamb had moved in with her family in August of 2020. The mother stated Athian was healthy on February 18th. She stated she observed nothing out of the ordinary with her son and that his condition was normal. An affidavit goes on to say that Rivera's mother told detectives that she went to work at 5:30 p.m. on February the 18th and that her shift ended at 3:30 a.m. February the 19th. And I said this before in my previous video. I'm wondering what type of work was she doing to be at work from 5:30 p.m. for your shift to end at 3:30 a.m. And I know mom probably didn't like my first video, probably is not going to like this video, but I damn sure want to know what she was doing for a living to be working them kind of hours and be going and leave her son with a man who's not qualified to be a babysitter. I don't understand why a mother who says they would do anything for their children, they would give their life for their children, they love their children more than anything in this world, but you'll leave your children with just anybody. I think any random stranger on the street would have taken better care of this child than your boyfriend just because yo ass likes sleeping with him. Huh? Just because you like sleeping with him and he pleasures your body does not mean that that man is qualified to be around children, care for children, or to be a babysitter. Why do we think that? Why do we think just because we're happy in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship that qualifies them to take care of your children who have the DNA of another man? Huh? I don't get it. Would you ever just take your children to any random daycare? It can have a sign out in the front that says we're an accredited daycare. We take care of this age of children. We have 4 out of 5 stars at this daycare. Would you just pick a daycare and be like, oh, there's a daycare. I'm going to just go drop my children off, sign the sheet, be like, all right, see you when I get off of work at 3:30 a.m. Would you ever do that? Most responsible people would at least check their babysitters out. even do a background check on the daycare facility before they leave the children with the daycare. So why is it that we'll go above and beyond to leave our children at a daycare, but you won't even do a background check on bastards like this? That dude has a rapist face. If there was ever a rapist face, if you ever put the word rapist in a dictionary and they had emojis, it would be an emoji of his face. He just looks like he just has a, yeah, I'll take it. I'll just take it. I'm not going to ask for it. I'm not going to be told no. Face looking ass. That's what he looks like. He just has the face of a person you don't trust. So if we would take that much time to vet a babysitter, why won't we vet the people who we actually have around our children? Which takes me further back to the point that I was making with the people in my comment section who come to argue me down rather than saying, you know what, DJ, you have a point. Maybe us as mothers, when we have small children, we should second guess dating. I said it wrong. Second guess dating. Instead of just giving me credit and saying, DJ, you might be right, you might have a point, maybe we should second guess dating men while we have small children. What they do is they come and argue with me and say, well, are you saying that none of us need to be dating men? Well, if you have small children, why would you? The children are too small to speak for themselves or defend themselves. Why would you be dating? Matter of fact, you also have to ask yourself this question. Why would we be so willing to have children outside of wedlock and be willing to bring any man and every man around our children, but we'll fight the biological father from having access to his kid because he missed the child support payment? Oops. Look, guys, only responsible women are going to understand this. Shout out to my ladies in the chat. Only responsible women and only responsible mothers are going to understand what I just said. You will put any man around your kids besides the biological father. And you think that's a good recipe for success? When the man looks at that baby, he doesn't see himself. He doesn't see an innocent child. You know what that man sees when he looks at that baby boy? What he sees is the face of the man that the mother just got through having sex with right before he came into the picture. But that don't register in a lot of these mothers' minds. Why not? If we're going to believe that these mothers are smart, and you should believe all mothers, and mothers are infallible, why can't we accept some common sense concepts? I could never say that again. Common sense concepts. One of them being, it's probably not a smart thing to be poking the bear. This man, why would this man care about this kid? You don't know anything about him. We won't invest a couple of dollars. We won't even go get a free background check. So not only could that man pose a risk to you, that man could pose a risk to your children. And matter of fact, what kind of work were you doing that was so important that you were out at 3 o'clock in the morning? You think she was a nurse? You think she was a CNA? I think she was a head doctor. More like a head doctor. 3 in the morning. Any strip clubs open at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning? Wonder what pole she was swinging on till 3:30 in the morning, leaving her kid with this man, while the biological father is probably sitting there waiting to go to court to be able to get custody just to get visitation. But let's move on. According to court documents, the mother advised that while she was at work, she received multiple messages by way of Snapchat from Wyatt Lamb, her boyfriend. She stated that everything seemed normal other than Lamb reported Athian had been coughing and had vomited. Rivera's mother said that she told Lamb that if Athian wasn't feeling better in the morning, she would take him to the doctor. He said he was coughing and throwing up. What type of medical training, fatherly training, do you think Wyatt Lamb had in order to deal with a child who's throwing up? What parent wouldn't turn around and immediately take their child to the doctor if their kid was throwing up, or at least get your ass home? What job is more important that you needed to be at work rather than go check on your child if they say that your child is throwing up? That don't sound like a good mom to me. But let's move on. Investigators say they were able to confirm through her time card as well as through video surveillance that Rivera's mother had worked during the time she had reported. So they looked at the strip club camera, apparently. Now, that was my little add-in, but let's move on. Rivera's mother told police that she had returned home from work at approximately 3:30 a.m. on the morning of February 19th. She informed detectives that all of her children often slept in the same bed. She informed detectives that all of her children often slept in the same bed. She informed detectives that all of her children often slept in the same bed. The question is why? Maybe I could be wrong, but that sounds like these children didn't all have their own beds. And if they didn't have their own beds, then maybe you have more children than you can actually properly take care of. She said they often slept in the same bed, and when she went to check on her children, claimed that Wyatt Lamb turned out the hallway lights outside of the bedroom, making it hard to see. Rivera's mother reportedly asked Lamb what he was doing and to turn the lights back on, in which he did. She told detectives that afterwards one of her children had begun to stir, so she left the room as to not wake them up. The affidavit reveals that Rivera's mother told investigators that on the morning of February 19th, Lamb had asked if the home had any clean sheets. Lamb allegedly told Rivera's mother that he wanted to change the sheets on the children's bed, B-E-D, singular, not plural, beds, just one bed, apparently. Change the sheets on the children's bed because Athian vomited earlier. The mother told authorities that she believed Lamb was being nicer than usual on the morning of the 19th. Court documents go on to report that Rivera's mother and Lamb left to the apartment to take one of her children to school, and the mother stated that Lamb was concerned about tardiness, so he wanted her to drive them to school. She stated that this was out of the ordinary, and on previous occasions, when the child was running late for school, Lamb would still walk her there since it was only a short distance. Police officials report that surveillance videos show Rivera's mother and Lamb both in a vehicle dropping the child off at school. The mother says that they were only gone a short time and returned back to the apartment around 8:40 a.m. on the 19th. The affidavit goes on to say that the mother later told police that in hindsight, it appears as if Lamb was trying to keep her from checking on Athian. Let's take a effing pause right there. For those of y'all who might have skipped past that part of the story, So you mean to tell me that you said you believed that your son was coughing and throwing up? I'm going to say it 2 more times. Coughing and throwing up. According to the affidavit, court documents, you said that your son was coughing and throwing up and he's only 2 years old and he wasn't the first person you go to check on? Really, bitch? Really? Where do they make these mothers at? Why do these mothers continue to get off like this? Let me say that again. I'm going to say it a little bit quicker. Your 2-year-old son is coughing and throwing up according to what you testified and said that your boyfriend told you. You got home and he wasn't the first child you checked on. How, Sway? How? How? Mother's Day just passed by. We just had Father's Day last weekend. If you're asking me, am I insinuating that the mother is lying? The answer is yes. Because you would then have to ask a very important question, and shout out to Tommy, who always points this out. You have to ask the most important question, which is why. Why didn't you go check on 2-year-old Athian Rivera when your boyfriend said he was coughing and throwing up, which is out of the normal? So if you have one child that is sick out of 3 children, why would you check on the other 2 and not check on the one that was sick? I would love for the people who came out and shot me all these stupid emails and all these comments in my comment section telling me, DJ, you're being too hard on the mother. You're being too hard on the mother. I don't think I'm being hard enough on the mother. I don't think the laws are being hard enough on the people who are controlling everything that happens to these children and who these children are around. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? When you put children first, common, logical, biological, godly, your spidey senses, whatever you want to call it, you can't be that level of dumb to not know that if you're going to go out and be dancing on the pole or doing your head doctor duties at 3:30 in the morning, that after you get done doing these illicit deeds, to check on the one that he told you had a problem. Where is the logic in that? Let's move on. Rivera's mother went on to tell detectives that she hadn't seen Athian yet that morning and that she believed that he was still sleeping. Just for saying that alone, you should be arrested and be in jail for 5 years. Let me read that one sentence one more time. 2 sentences. Athian Rivera's mother went on to tell detectives that she had not seen her son, Athian, yet that morning and she just believed that he was still sleeping. She stated that she went back to sleep at around 9 a.m. How many of y'all believe that? What mother is going to go to sleep and hasn't even bothered checking on her sick, throwing up child? Won't even look at your child in the face, won't turn the light on, won't go in the room. You won't lay eyes on the kid at all. Where do they build these mothers at? The affidavit states that mom's boyfriend, that guy, told the mother that he was going to do some chores. At some point, she recalled hearing him open up trash bags while she was laying in bed. She told investigators that the trash bags they had used in the apartment were the ones she had taken from her employer and that they were stored in the kitchen cabinet. Rivera's mother reports that she had woken up at about 12:15 p.m. by Lamb, who said that Athian was missing and the apartment door was open. She observed the front door to be barely open and then began to search the apartment for the child. Whew. That smells like a bunch of BS, does it not? It's starting to stink in here. She said she got up at 12:15 next to him, and he said, "Oh, your son is missing." The one son that she didn't bother to ever check on, and said that the apartment door was open. Now, who would randomly just walk into their apartment and take the baby? Does it happen? I'm sure it's happened sometime in history, but what's the likelihood? Remember, I'm a numbers person. What's the likelihood that that would happen? Not likely that somebody's going to randomly figure out that your apartment door is open, go in your apartment and nobody knew nothing and take a child. And then you would have to ask yourself, why would they take this child? Even the story doesn't make logical sense. She told investigators that she began to search the outside area of the apartment complex with the help of other people. Police say that they spoke with individuals who helped her in the search. Witnesses offered that they observed Lamb was acting odd as the situation unfolded. One witness reportedly described Lamb's behavior as seeming to be worried or not seeming to be worried or flustered by the disappearance. Court documents say that Rivera's mother called 911 dispatch at around 1:02 p.m. Let me say this again. According to court documents, hashtag not my words, court documents say that Athian Rivera's mother called 911 at 1:02 p.m. What's the problem with that? Does anybody remember the story as I'm telling the story? Hopefully you didn't get too lost. What's the glaring problem with that? 1:02 p.m. Her boyfriend allegedly told her that her son was missing at 12:15 p.m. You waited 47 fucking minutes to call 911. Then you got off of work and didn't check on your son at all, and then went to bed at 9 a.m. and got up 3 hours and 15 minutes later. Then you waited until 47 minutes later, after you already told the police that your son was missing? How many people were able to put that together? The reason why I'm doing this update with no videos is because these details alone are painting a picture that I was painting when this story first came out. And I believe that the mother knew more, way more than what she was saying, because none of this story followed any level of sense. And it just so happens that us here at the AFC, those who are in the comment section of Facebook groups who are dedicated to this story, only us were able to call these things out and realize the story that they're telling doesn't make any sense. Because we've seen a number of child murders, child disappearances, child kidnapping, child abductions, and we've also seen children sold into the sex trade. Children who are sold off, given off, or whatever the case is. We compile all of that information in our heads and we look at these stories and we realize what they said doesn't even make sense as far as a pattern. The time frame doesn't add up. Your story doesn't add up. The importance of your child doesn't add up. That's real convenient that you say you came home and you didn't know nothing. Really? Y'all think that she didn't know nothing? What if the boyfriend comes out in court and he wants to save his ass, or at least get his charges knocked down, and he comes out in court and he says, yeah, the mom did know and she helped me cover it up? Would y'all be surprised? Are the courts going to ignore that and act like what the mom said didn't actually make sense? Because we have enough evidence just in her words alone to prove that what she did was be neglectful at the very most. That's neglectful for you to leave your child with somebody who is not a qualified child caretaker. Then when you get home, you don't check on that child. Do y'all think that should be something that we should vote on? That maybe we can get parents arrested, give them a year in jail, give them 5 years in jail for being neglectful parents. That should be called neglect. And the reason why I think that should be on the table is because I think until you start to light a fire under some of these parents' asses, I don't think their behavior is going to change. I think that if they know that they can face criminal charges, then maybe some of these parents will make better decisions. I want y'all to remember that you heard it here first. We need stronger laws. One of those laws is neglect should get you 5 years minimum. She called 911 47 minutes later. She alleged that Lamb left once she made the call because he had an outstanding warrant. Just with that information alone right there, I could end this story and say that's enough. I've told you guys plenty. You remember when I said that mom's boyfriend is a thug, that mom didn't do a background check? Because only 2 scenarios could follow. Either mom didn't do a background check and she allowed somebody who had a current criminal history, who had a warrant out for his arrest, be around her child, which is neglect, which she should do 5 years in prison. Or option B, she knew he had a warrant out for his arrest and she ignored it, which is neglect, which should also get you 5 years in prison minimum. If you didn't know, it's because you didn't bother to find out or you didn't give a shit. Or option B, you knew and you didn't give a shit. What other options are there? I mean, come on. We can't keep making excuses for people and say, well, maybe she didn't know, DJ. Maybe she just didn't know no better. Well, it's up to us as parents to be responsible enough to be doing this research and know what our children should and shouldn't be involved in, who they should and shouldn't be around, because they can't do it for themselves. How about that for a noble idea? We should do some research before we become parents. Maybe we should have licenses to become parents. Take some parenting classes. Before you date, do a background check. Sign at the bottom line so we'll understand that you definitely can't say that you didn't know. They said he had an outstanding warrant. I would love to know what that outstanding warrant was for. It could have been for child rape, for all that we know. Police say that Lamb returned to the apartment at around 1:30 p.m. That's 28 minutes later, during an interview with Rivera's mother. Lamb indicated to detectives that he lived at a different residence with a roommate and confirmed that Rivera's mother was his girlfriend. The affidavit reveals that Lamb detailed to investigators his account of the previous day. Lamb told detectives that he had put Athian to bed at around 8 p.m. on that evening of February 18th. Lamb stated that he observed Athian to vomit once during the night, and it concerned him enough to call the child's mother and report it. Bookmark that. We'll come back to it. Court documents say that Lamb told authorities that he had checked on Athian between 10 and 10:30 p.m. and that he was still sleeping. He told investigators that he had returned to his residence at around 3:40 a.m. in the morning of February 19th when Rivera's mother returned from work. Oh, this is giving me a headache. Let me say this again. I'm going to read it again. He told investigators that he went back to his residence at 3:40 a.m. in the morning when Rivera's mother returned from work. According to the affidavit, Lamb offered different details to what transpired during the morning. He stated that he had spent his entire morning at his residence and that he had been texting with Rivera's mother during that time. Lamb went on to tell investigators that he fell asleep and was woken at 11:20 or 11:40 a.m. when Rivera's mother called to tell him that Athian was missing. Lamb said that his roommate was not at home, so he was forced to call a taxi to get a ride to Rivera's apartment. He told detectives he got in a ride from Classy Taxi to get to the apartment. All of this is stuff you ought to be able to look up and verify. While Lamb was still at the apartment being interviewed, detectives noted that he was looking outside of the window towards the dumpster where the body of Athian had been discovered. A short time later, Lamb appeared to faint and was transported to the ambulance to Cheyenne Medical Regional Center. Authorities say that further investigation revealed that Lamb had moved out of the residence he had claimed to be living in August of 2020. So they found out he lied about that. Court documents state that detectives could not find a Classy Taxi in town. So he lied about that. They also reported calling multiple taxi services in town who said they had not provided any transportation on February 19th to Rivera's apartment complex. Another lie. Police state that on February 19th, they secured the trash dumpster where Rivera's body was discovered. They sealed the lids and had transported it to the Cheyenne Police Department. On the evening of the 19th, investigators obtained and executed a search warrant on Rivera's apartment. During the search warrant, Investigators say that they located and seized a roll of black trash bags and that they were the same color and that they had a similar plastic heavy construction as the bags that the baby was found in. Detectives go on to say that they located and seized a flat blue and white bed sheet that appeared to have the same color pattern as the fitted sheet that was found that the child was wrapped in. On February 20th, detectives conducted a search of the trash dumpster where the baby was located. The affidavit said they found black trash bags that were similar to the one Athian was covered in. They say the trash bags were also similar to the ones found of the kitchen of the apartment. An autopsy of the child was also conducted on February 20th by forensic pathologists at the Laramie County Coroner's Office. Based upon the history of the autopsy and based on the history and the autopsy findings, it is my opinion that Athian Rivera, a 2-year-old Hispanic male, died of cerebral edema, herniation due to blunt force trauma, or hypoxic brain injury, or a combination of both. It sounds like this baby was beat up. And I want y'all to remember that he continued to insist that the baby had thrown up. Well, what happens to an adult when they have a concussion? Y'all have watched enough football to watch when people have a concussion, they end up throwing up. I want y'all to remember that also. The pathologist also reported observing a pattern of injuries, of burn injuries, to the child's groin by a torch reportedly found at the scene. Jesus Christ. He burned the baby's genitals. An affidavit goes on to report in a horrific detail of a list of injuries medical experts located across his body. Examiners observed multiple abrasions and contusions on his head, chest, abdomen, and back of Rivera, as well as brain damage. There are scattered blunt force injuries over much of his body. According to investigators, forensic pathologists also located non-accidental thermal injuries to Rivera around his genitals. Do y'all remember earlier in this video when I accused the man and I said he has a rapist looking face? I'm pretty sure he didn't perform these burns with the baby's clothes on. Want y'all to remember that. I don't just throw blanket accusations out there for no reason. Examiners say that they observed multiple indications of a heat source being applied to the baby's skin across the lower portion of his body. During a second search of Rivera's apartment on February the 20th, detectives say that they found and seized a butane torch. He took a butane torch to this baby's naked body, dude. Wow. There's a special place in hell for people like this. They allege that the size and shape of the burns of the torch appeared to be very similar to the burns on the baby's body. Now, examiners advise that they believe the burns located on the child's body happened near or at the time of the baby's death. They also concluded that they located evidence that Athian had either been strangled or suffocated. The affidavit reveals on May 7th of 2021, the Wyoming Division of Criminal Investigation issued a forensic report on the case. The report indicates that testing showed the presence of the DNA profiles of both Rivera and Lamb and the diaper that Athian was wearing at the time of the autopsy. Forensic analysis also indicated that Lamb's fingerprints were found on multiple trash bags that contained the body of the baby, according to court papers. How many of y'all believe that he also sexually violated this baby? Because I do. Lamb made an initial appearance at the Laramie County Circuit Court on June 29th, a few days ago, where he was read a felony charge of murder in the first degree, as well as 10 counts of felony child abuse. According to Wyoming statutes, if convicted of first-degree murder, he could face the death penalty or life in prison. Each count of child abuse carries a maximum 10-year sentence. Lamb was given a $1 million bond, and he'll have a preliminary hearing set for August of this year. I hope that the courts and the investigation do their part to not only convict this man for what he did to this baby, which is just indescribable, and a punishment is only suitable on this earth by either life in prison or the death penalty, or maybe a little street justice inside a jail. Maybe we could get a little street justice. Maybe that might happen. I don't know. But y'all know people in prison usually don't take too kindly to people violating children. But on top of that, his soul is going to have to answer for this in hell as well. I hope to be able to deliver you guys the final details, and I hope that the courts and Wyoming also does their due diligence to continue to investigate the biological mother, because I believe that her story doesn't add up either. For her time frame between 3:30 a.m. all the way up until she allegedly called 911 at 1:02 p.m. None of that makes any sense. Investigate her, convict her as well for child neglect. I'm DJ Just J, and we hope to get justice for Athian. And let me say this to this beautiful baby boy, young Prince, R.I.P.